Hey guys, we're here today with the 2023 Mazda CX-9 in this beautiful shade of Soul Red Crystal Metallic, and it is a signature trim, which is the top trim of the CX-9. Now, we all know the all-new Mazda CX-90 is out now, so what's going to happen to the CX-9? Will it be replaced, or will the CX-90 replace it? Nonetheless, to that question, the CX-9, even though it's been on sale for all these years, and though it's been updated just recently, it's still a really fantastic vehicle. It's a really unique offering in the segment, a pretty crowded segment too, with things like the Hyundai Palisade, the Kia Telluride, Subaru Ascend, Honda Pilot, the list can go on. So how does the CX-9 from Mazda distinguish itself in a really crowded segment? Let's dive into that right now. Okay guys, so we are here now with the 2023 Mazda CX-9, and we're looking here at the one, it's called the Signature Trim. So this one stands around $50,000 right now, and the base one comes in around $38,000. So you definitely have options you can go for with the CX-9. Now, this one also comes with an optional Soul Red Crystal Metallic paint, which is one of my favorite colors from Mazda. And if you really want your car to stand out, I definitely recommend it. It's also one of the last Mazdas, I think it is the last Mazda right now, that still has the old style illuminated Mazda grille. As you can see right here, I believe this is only available on the top end signature trim, but the old Mazda 6 used to have this as well on the top trim, and it's a super unique thing. Unfortunately, that is being killed off for more stylized LED lighting on their newer vehicles. So objective styling bits aside, let's point out what we're looking at on the CX-9. So for 2023, we do have a slightly updated front fascia. There's a little bit of this more textured pattern going on with the grille compared to earlier CX-9s. Again, we also have that illuminated grille design right there. And on the signature trim, I think it looks really premium with this beautiful kind of chrome work trim. And it's used in a tasteful way. It's not kind of splattered all over the place. It also looks really premium. We have these nice LED fog lights down here, premium LED headlights over here, which also offer turning assist, which is really nice. And here we have these kind of machine gray finished wheels. We also get body colored side mirrors, really nice and tasteful side aluminum trim, as well as the aluminum accented roof rails, which is really nice. And coming out back, we have, again, signature LED taillights, dual tip exhaust. As you can see back here, we also have the signature badge with all-wheel drive, which is really nice. And I love the trunk. It has a kick activation to open it as well. And you also have, again, 3 rows of seating, which we'll get into in a second. Now, the Mazda CX-9 can sit up to 7 people, though in this signature trim, we can only sit 6 people as we have second row captain's chairs, and there are only 2 seats in the 3rd row. Now, compared to its competitors, I will say the Mazda CX-9 is a little bit smaller. It's about 10 cubic feet in overall storage, smaller than something like a Kia Telluride. Now, going into the rear, of course, the trunk does open via 3 main ways. You can press the button, you can kick your foot under the bumper right there, and you can also press it from the inside, and I believe on the key as well. So a lot of ways to open the trunk. And as you can see here, we have it with the 3rd row up, with the 3rd row down, and with the 2nd row down. And that is all the cargo space you're getting inside of the CX-9. So yes, I can fit in there, so you can definitely put a lot of stuff in there, but if you want even more storage, you're gonna have to go with one of the competitors. Okay guys, we may have teleported locations, but let's take a tour on the interior of the Mazda CX-9, because it is actually very fantastic of a place. Now, like I said, this one has the deep chestnut brown leather interior, and it is gorgeous inside. On the door panels, we have this really beautiful deep chestnut leather trim, and it's all Nappa leather, all really nice. I love this deviated stitching as well. We also have real rosewood trim on the interior, which is open pour. It's fantastic feeling, and it wraps all the way around door panels and the center console. Now, the seats themselves, heated and ventilated up front, and we have this really nice stitching going on in there with this nice white contrast white piping. Even the controls for the power seats are in this like metallic finish, really nice feeling and very premium. We also have nice thick floor mats. Of course, you can get all-weather floor mats if you want those as well. And as you can see here, we also have these beautiful rosewood accents on the center console as well. Again, open floor wood. And this is a really nice kind of little area as well. You can see that is contrasted with this nice brown Nappa leather with the stitching, and it's padded. I really do love the armrests as well. They kind of open in this fan style, so you kind of get a nice deep storage pocket down here. This also is nicely well padded in that same brown Nappa leather. Got a nice tour of these seats as well. These seats are actually really, really comfortable. I quite enjoy them a lot. And then you can get a nice big tour of the whole interior of all 3 rows, which I think we're gonna take a tour of that first before we hop into the driver's seat. Now, coming into the rear, we have captain's chairs in this one. You can get a full bench instead of these 2 captain's chairs, and you have 7 passenger seating. This one has 6 passenger seating, of course. And we also have the exact same materials as on the front seats. Now, oftentimes when I see like captain's chairs, it's kind of like these cheaped out center seats, but Mazda really went above and beyond here. You have the support still, you have all these thigh supports, you have this nice waist supports and everything, and it's the same nice Nappa leather that we're getting up front. You also get padded little pockets behind the seats, and there's also rear heat seating as well, which is really nice. You have your own climate vents, and everything feels really high quality in here. You also have these fan doors back here as well with charging ports, so lots of storage in the CX-9 as well. And we cannot forget the window shades, manual window shades, which are fantastic of a feature. And again, with the door panels, we get all that same nice materials, as well as this nice Bose speaker system. Now, of course, this is a 3rd row vehicle, so let's hop into the 3rd row, and I'll show you how easy it is to do that. Simply, you just pull this lever up right here and push the seat forward. And now you kind of get this kind of access way to get in there. And believe it or not, I actually can fit in there. So you can put adults in the 3rd row if you need to. Hopping into the 3rd row, pulling the seat back, and voila, I am back here. And this can go actually a little bit further back. I would still have more room. It's a little cramped, as most 3rd rows are, but I actually can fit back here. And if you need to, you could put, I think, an adult back here for short periods of time. Definitely kids. It's not the biggest one in the segment for the 3rd row wise. You do have 2 cup holders, some USB port, and it is actually pretty open back here with these rear windows. And of course, these can go down if you want them to. But it's not the worst space to be in, and I think it's a little bit more open since we have this captain's chair style seating in the 2nd row, so you have a little bit more open space, and you get a nice view of that front cabin up there, which is really nice. Getting out is just as easy. Push that lever, push the seat forward, and hop right out of the CX-9. Now, as we're back here, as we're doing all this labor, we just push the seat back for you guys. Then I can show you, if you wanted to fold the seats flat down, you pull this lever right here, and they literally fold flat down. Now, these seats are completely covered in this leather material in the back. So if you are going to be putting some, I guess, more maybe abrasive things in the trunk, you might want to put some kind of padding down so you don't ruin these, especially with this console on the center right here, which could also, I think, might get damaged. And this does also kind of pose a little bit of issue, because then you don't really have a fully flat cargo space back here with this center console. Now, coming into the trunk, of course, you can operate it by kicking under the trunk, which I love. Then you can kind of see what's going on in the 3rd row back here. Sorry, our bag over here right now. You can fold these seats down pretty easily. And you kind of get an idea of what's going on when you want to have maximum cargo space in your CX-9. Gonna have a nice tour all the way straight through to the front. So yeah, you can have some additional cargo space. And of course, we have more room under here if you want to put some extra little storage bits, and we have a spare tire under there as well. So I like that you can have this amount of space, even including a spare tire, so that's pretty nice. But you can get a little bit limited in some legroom areas compared to some of the competition in this class. Okay guys, let's go take a tour of the front really quick. And coming inside, we get all the same beautiful treatments as we saw on the passenger side. Of course, we're in the cockpit. And it's all pretty much familiar stuff we've seen with the other Mazda reviews we've done. We have, again, the older style steering wheel and the older style switchgear that we can find in the CX-5, as the CX-5 and the CX-9 are on the older Mazda platforms. And these are going to be kind of replaced soon with the new CX-90 and the new upcoming CX-70. Nonetheless, this still is a very high quality, well-built interior. All the materials feel really, really solid, and they don't feel cheap, which I do really like. And I think the general design here hasn't aged poorly at all. It still feels very fresh and actually pretty nice in here. So I love the stitching actually on the steering wheel. It's kind of like this triple stitching pattern. It actually feels really nice on the hand. We do have a heated steering wheel that only heats up these side panels. The top and bottom are not heated. That is a Mazda thing I've noticed. Automatic steering responsive headlights, as we mentioned earlier. We have the premium Bose sound system, really clear heads-up display right there, if you can kind of catch a little glimpse of that. And we have this 10.25-inch, very high resolution display right here with these really nice cameras that Mazda's included. So we have a 360 camera system. I think it looks fantastic, honestly. And you can kind of cycle through all the different views, side views, and whatnot. And of course, that pops up when you have it in reverse. Reversing cameras with parking sensors and all of that stuff, all those goodies right there. We've kind of gone through a lot of the stuff in this interiors before with Mazda, so I'm not going to go over everything in detail, but some highlights. I do really love this rosewood trim in the center console. It's really high quality. It feels really premium, and I love this metal metallic trim going on. It actually is a really nice accent to the interior. One major gripe is, I've heard other people complain about this, is this. My knee always hits this wood, even though it's beautiful. They did put padding down here, but I think it's just too low. I'm in the lowest seat setting, and my legs still do not even come close to where that padding is. They always end up hitting this rosewood, and it's kind of annoying to rest on. This is the only Mazda I've noticed this problem with, too. And of course, it's going to be replaced as a vehicle, so they're not even going to bother trying to fix that. So I'm not going to be too harsh on that. Let's go back to the center console. Again, our older style switch controls over here. They all still feel very premium, but I do like the newer style switch gear. It does have even more premium feel to it. I'm also a huge fan of the shifter. It feels really solid. It's a really nice solid funk to it. It feels very, very high quality. And I don't know if you're one of those people that like to rest your hand on the shifter. I know it's an automatic and whatever, but it just feels really, really well built. It's really solid. It has a nice leather wrapping to it. Nothing feels cheap at all. If you could look at something like a Subaru Ascent, for example, you got this plastic stick sticking out of the center console. It feels all wiggly and gross. This is like super rock solid. I would actually really appreciate that. Really nice little sport button here. It's your only kind of drive mode, if you want to think of it like that. Glove box is a little small and it's not illuminated, but I guess that's something you're gonna have to deal with. You do have a lot of storage in the center console though, so that does make up for it a little bit. I have noticed things in here and in the center console get really hot. I'm not sure if it's from like air vents from the front going to the rear, or if it's like transmission heat, but I have noticed a lot of heat coming out of these areas, even when this is off too. So I'm assuming it has to do something with the drivetrain. One weird thing I did notice. I mean, that's pretty much it. You have a little bit of some accessory buttons over here for your hill descent control, parking sensors, camera views, trunk control. And of course we have a tiny little roof here, no panoramic roof. If you're going to want a panoramic roof, you're going to want to wait for the CX-90 that's coming out later this spring on sale. And also the smaller CX-50 does have a panoramic roof as well. Different here. And over these almost 500 miles, so we average like almost 21 miles to the gallon. This is a huge amount of mixed city and highway driving. A lot of highway miles actually. So not the best fuel economy, but I think I could have done a little bit better if I had a calmer driving style. But I've been testing this vehicle, so I think that's respectable, but definitely could be better. Like I said before, heated and cooled seats, which is really nice. I love how we have physical buttons for those. And I love how the climate controls are still separate buttons down here. We don't have like a mixed system going on. So all of these are always accessible to you and not embedded into the infotainment system. So that's a nice separation feature that Mazda still keeps true to all their new vehicles. Even this material is soft touch up here. There are no cheap, really hard plastics unless even this is actually kind of like a soft touch plastic. So that's kind of cool. I like how Mazda kept that premium feel going on in this interior. And that's something you would expect for something that's $50,000. So let's take this thing for a drive now, and I'll show you guys the driving dynamics of the CX-9. And this is one thing that I love with this engine, is that in every vehicle I've driven with this engine, it's pretty much been almost every car in Mazda's lineup, it has this really unique sound for a 4-cylinder. It's this deep, kind of grunty noise to it. It's super, super unique. You also can hear like turbo whistle sometimes, which is really, really cool to me. I don't know, I think that's just a really cool, enthusiastic experience that you get in the CX-9. Now, I also want to talk about handling. Now, this is a 3-row family vehicle that can seat up to 7, so you really shouldn't be talking about handling, I guess, in a review, but that's what kind of Mazda wanted to infuse into this car, so I have to talk about it. And shockingly, this actually drives really well for what it is. With that shorter wheelbase, you are going to be able to have a little more of an agile vehicle versus something like a Hyundai Palisade or a Kia Telluride, and people do appreciate that actually. and it does have a nice pep in its step. It can get up and go if you really do need it to, which I think is fantastic. I've never ever felt that it doesn't have enough power, which I think is important as well. Mazda also has thrown in their kind of G-vectoring control, which kind of is a behind-the-scenes system that's kind of controlling the brakes and the torque of the vehicle to help you manage the body weight and help you control the vehicle better through corners, which is really fantastic. And it does work, and you definitely can kind of feel it in the background a little bit. Also, I do have to point out this steering. Mazda and all their vehicles has really great steering, which is, again, weird to be talking about, I guess, in a 3-year-old vehicle, but I appreciate it. So I'm going to talk about it. It is very, very well weighted. It feels natural, and I think that's a really big important thing with these vehicles, is that everything in this vehicle feels right. It feels like it was balanced for this car. The steering feels like it was balanced for the car. The engine feels like it was made for the vehicle. The chassis is very well controlled and balanced. The suspension works for the vehicle. I can't say that about every other car in this segment. So if you're talking about something like a Subaru Ascent, for example, I feel some things are a little bit out of whack, and there's not a lot of unison. Sure, it's a safe, comfortable vehicle and has all that Subaru backing to it, but I feel very, very confident and safe in this vehicle as well, along with the driving experience is really well composed for this type of class of vehicle. Busy on the highway today, guys. And yeah, now we're up to highway speeds. It's pretty quiet and comfortable as well. Though now that we are on the highway, I always like to mention Mazda's safety systems and how I'm not particularly the biggest fan of them, mainly in the aspect that is they're not very aggressive, or they're not really as advanced, I think, as competitors. So example, you do have radar guided cruise control, which you can access on the steering wheel, so you can turn on really quickly and just press set, and you're at that speed. You can jump through increments of 5 miles an hour and all those different numbers if you want to get to your speed, so that's fine. You also can control your following distance, which shows up in your heads-up display, which is really cool. Now, my issues are with kind of the lane keep assist system particularly. It's not good. It's one of those systems that pogos you in between the lanes, so it's never going to actually like kind of keep you centered in the lane. It's just going to keep you from jumping out of the lane, and I don't think those are the safest systems on the market. And I think this is where a lot of people get confused, where some vehicles such as like a Subaru, the Subaru system, it will actually be steering you through the lanes. Now you have to keep your hands on the wheel, of course, but those systems actually will be steering you, and you can watch the steering wheel move. This one does not do that. It'll just keep going until it notices you're bumping out of the lane, then it'll bump you back into the lane, it'll veer into the other direction, it'll bump you back into that direction. I don't like that. I don't think that's a safe system to be on the market, and I hope they can improve on this in the future. This feels a little bit more car-like versus SUV-like, and you can also kind of feel that in the seating experience. Like, I'm sitting at the lowest setting right now, but you can definitely get way up higher in this seat and kind of feel like you're driving more of like a true SUV, but it does give you that versatility of both. You can kind of hear that nice engine grunt right there. And yeah, overall, it's a great vehicle, I think, to road trip as well. And I'm just going to show you quickly in the operation with this scroll wheel and Apple CarPlay. It works fine. You get used to it really, really easily. Just pop through the different menus and like that. And it's kind of like this muscle memory thing that once you do it like 1 or 2 times, you'll always get it. Some people may not like it still, but I have no problem with it personally. Now, if you also are a big Mazda fan, you will quickly point out that this one does not have their newer heartbeat style turning indicators, but I think that's something that we can all look over a little bit, even though I am a big fan of those. Got a little bit of a taste for the handling in this current corner over here. For a big 3-row SUV, it is pretty agile, and I think that's pretty impressive. Oh, is that a roof box on the Panamera? Oh, that looks awesome. Cool stuff, guys. Yeah, so that's a quick little highway drive of the Mazda CX-9. Pretty quiet inside. I do like that, and I do like how they actually kind of allow some of that engine noise to be let into the cabin. It actually does provide a little bit more of a more natural experience. Whoa. cutting straight through traffic. And if you do want a little bit of illumination in the cabin, pretty bright LED lights in here as well. Really nice. Mazda's systems, for example, all sound really, really good actually, and this one is no exception. Really love that engine grunt sound. You may notice I have not used the paddle shifters really at all in this drive, and again, I don't think it's really worth it to use the paddle shifters in this SUV. They work. It's a 6-speed automatic gearbox, but you don't really need them. Now, one big complaint though, I do have to say, I wish the brakes were a little bit stronger. There is a bit of some pedal travel before you really get to it, like a nice solid confidence on the brakes. And this is one thing I have noticed in a lot of Mazda vehicles as well, so I wish they can improve on that in the future. They're fine, they obviously work well, it's just, they just feel like they could be a little bit improved. Quick look at the back camera once again. You do have parking sensors as well. Very crystal clear camera views as well for the cameras themselves. And trajectory, which we love. So yeah guys, I just want to wrap up this full-on review of this Mazda CX-9, and I am super excited to drive the upcoming CX-90 from Mazda. That's gonna be super exciting. But if you are looking for a vehicle in this class, I definitely think you have to have a test drive in the Mazda CX-9. It's such a unique offering in the segment, as we've talked about, as it just gives you a much better driving experience if you really value that, versus that extra 10 cubic feet of cargo room. You're gonna wanna go with this vehicle. And I think it looks great still as well. So thank you guys for joining me on this full tour and review of the 2023 Mazda CX-9, and stay tuned for a lot more videos coming soon from All Car News. Cheers.